of the MA Properties Online team. We're here for another episode of Coffee with MA Properties Online, and our guest today is Andrew Marquis of Guaranteed Rate. He's going to answer questions for us about the mortgage finance industry and help educate us as to what some of these things mean. So, Andrew, can you describe the pros and cons of an ARM?
Absolutely. So for the audience here, there's basically two main types of mortgages. There's a fixed rate loan, where the loan is fixed for the entire life of that loan, a 30-year loan, a 15-year loan, that interest rate never changes. And ARM stands for adjustable rate mortgage. So an ARM is typically a 30-year term for the most part, but the rate would only be fixed for the first X number of years. So for example, a 7-1 ARM would be a common program. The rate is fixed for the first 7 years, and then what the 1 means is that the rate adjusts once per year thereafter. So the remaining 23 years, that rate is going to adjust once each year. The benefits of an ARM is that you're going to get a lower rate because you're taking on more risk where the rate is only fixed for 7 years versus the life of the loan. So it can be a great tool for something where you're not going to be in the property for that long a time. Maybe you're there for 5 to 7 years and then you'll be upgrading or right-sizing or downsizing. The other benefit would be sometimes you see investors like ARMs. So you have someone that's buying an expensive property, they're taking a loan amount out mainly for tax purposes to get a write-off. You know, they have enough money where they could pay that loan off if they needed to, but they want to achieve, you know, a mortgage interest deduction on their savings. And so the ARM is going to give them a much cheaper payment. So the bigger loan amount you have, that rate differential between an ARM and a fixed rate is just achieving more savings on the ARM. So that would be kind of the pros and cons. It's more risk, lower rate, can be suitable in a lot of scenarios.
Right. What sort of profile do you see of mortgages that come in? How many people would tend to go with fixed rate versus ARMs? Because, I mean, to me, ARMs make sense, but I think a lot of people go with fixed rates.
It's a great question, Danny. So a lot of buyers have that sense. They think 2008. They think, you know, ARMs were what ruined our economy here, and that's really not so much the case with the ARMs we're talking about today. These have very low margins, so even when these ARMs reset, in general, the rate doesn't really change that much unless the market has changed significantly. I would say in general, to answer that question, I'd have to say probably 10% of people are doing ARMs, 10 to 20%.
Is that all?
It's that low, yeah. You know, typically, like, you'll see first-time home buyers do these a lot when they're buying that condo in the city, and it's kind of, you know, they're going to be there 5 to 7 years, but more than likely they want to start a family eventually, and they know they're going to be moving to a different school system or something. So they'll use those. And then, like I said, I see it quite a bit on the larger loan amounts because, you know, they can save $300, $400, $500 a month using the ARM, and it becomes more of an advantage. So typically what we do when we're speaking with a customer is we ask, you know, how long do you plan to be in the property? How long will you own that property? And then we lay out the different options, you know, and kind of talk it through with the consumer and make them understand. You know, some consumers think saving $200 a month is substantial. Others say I'd rather have the certainty of a fixed rate. So it just depends on the circumstance.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much for that information.
My pleasure.
So that concludes this episode of Coffee with MA Properties Online. If you want to subscribe to our channel, go to YouTube and we'll have more from Andrew soon. Thanks a lot, and his information is going to be following as well. Okay, thanks.
Hi there, it's Marcus Collins here. Thanks for watching this episode of Coffee with MA Properties Online on YouTube. If you want to stay up to date with future episodes, click subscribe just below me or click on this list to see lots of other great videos. Thanks for watching.